Welcome back to the Powerslide Podcast. I hope you had a good, March. I hope you had a good March and February. I sure did. It was good. Passed all of my exams. That was a highlight. All of the first three rallies in the WRC were very good. So that's also something that was very good. But I'm making this episode of the Powerslide Podcast because I've grown tired. I've grown tired of a debate between what car class should be the main class of the WRC, Rally 1s or Rally 2s. And in this episode, I will be weighing the pros and cons of the Rally 2 class being made the main category for the WRC, and I will be explaining why I think that's not a good idea. The reason I'm making this episode at this random point in the year is because before the Safari Rally, rumors emerged that Hyundai would be pulling out of the sport at the end of the year, and that Rally 2s would be replacing the existing Rally 1 cars, so that we're not just left with Toyota and M Sport for that 1 year. After those rumors have since cooled down, I must say, but what I didn't expect is that people would see that rumor and not just agree with it, but look forward to it. Again, I can understand, I can see why someone would just look at WRC2 and say, yes, we have X amount of manufacturers, Y amount of drivers. This can just be WRC, including all the drivers we have now. But simply, this wouldn't be the case. But before I get into it, I must first disclose some, my personal opinion or something. It's not based on the topic. You will understand that I've weighed things down and this is where I stand, but it's about Hyundai leaving the WRC. What I think will happen is that if Hyundai does indeed leave the sport in 2025, then we have 2 or 3 different outcomes. The first outcome we could have is that the I-20 Rally 1s will be run in 2026, but it won't be run as a full manufacturer. Instead, it will be run by a privateer team with only 2 cars. That can be either PH Sport, who are currently running Citroen's Rally 2 program in WRC2. That can also be Thierry Neuville's Life Live. I'm really sorry that I don't really know the name. I think it's Life Live or Life Live. That's probably Life Live. Neuville's team, Life Live, with him being chairman, CEO, driver, co-driver, engineer, and everything. Just how Solberg was in the late 2000s. Or they pull out of the sport altogether, which I think is the least likely option. I think we will see Hyundai Rally 1s next year, if Rally 1s remain the top class, which I hope they are, and it's what I think will happen. I think we're still going to have Rally 1s as the main class next year. And I also want to mention that we shouldn't really be focusing on what happens in 2026, but what happens in 2027. Because as I can not discuss, as far as anyone knows, there's not a 100%. The rule set for 2027 has not been 100% finalized. We know We know the gist of it. We know the outline of it, but we don't know everything about it. And I think, first of all, we all know that the regulations were announced very late. They should have been announced at least a year ago. And it's going to be very difficult for teams to make cars for 2027, especially if if there's one team that is not already in the WRC at the moment, because they need to have a clean slate and completely make a new car. But yeah, let's just jump into the debate. I'm going to start with the pros of having Rally2s as the main cars. As you can imagine, and it doesn't really need a lot of fantasy to imagine this, having Rally2s as the main class equals more cars. That's undisputable. We're gonna have more cars, and that does come with an asterisk that I'm going to talk later about. But it does come with you get a short-term gain in entries. Most of them, if not all of them, are not going to make a huge difference in the top 10. As the people that say local drivers would be able to give full-time WRC drivers a run for their money, they are mistaken. If I'm honest, they are severely underestimating the talent of full-time WRC drivers like Kalle Rovanperä, Elfyn Evans, Chernival, etc., etc., etc. And yeah. And another pro that is again a very big positive is that we're gonna have cheaper cars. A new Rally2 basically costs 300,000, but again that comes with a caveat that you just get the car, you don't get any spares, you might not even get like a gravel tarmac setup or anything, just get the car. But still, it's a lot cheaper than the current Rally 1s. And by having more cars and having cheaper cars, in theory the sport would become more sustainable. In theory again. The manufacturers would have to spend less money, which would mean they could maybe even field more entries. And with cheaper cars and more competition, that could entice further manufacturers to join the sport or create cars that are homologated in that rule set, which is again a net positive for the WRC, but it's again a hypothetical. We don't know if that would happen or if it wouldn't happen. And again, that's something that's not going to be for 2026. It's going to be something that's going to be for 2027 and beyond, 2026 and 2027, 2028, etc. As it stands now, the 2027 rules are coming in 2027, as you know, so it wouldn't really make any difference for 2026, is what I mean to say. So now, let's head into the cons of why Rally2s wouldn't really make a good main class. For starters, Rally2s are said to be changed in 2027, so yeah, it would not make much sense to only have that that rule set for only 1 year, unless you're also advocating to scrap the 2027 rule set, which would be the second or even third U-turn the FIA would need to make in just about a year and a half, which would make the sport look very foolish, and it would make the WRC look like even more of a clown show that it already is in certain aspects. So it would jeopardize the sport's reputation, and it would make it difficult to market, and it would make it also it wouldn't make it appealing if you are an outsider looking at a sport that's changed direction 3 times. You would be like, oh, these guys have no clue how to do stuff, so you just stay away from it. So, yeah. And then we head into the immediate one, 2026, the 2026 season, how that could look like in heading to Monte Carlo. What's the entry list? As I said in the pros, more cars. But as I said, there's an asterisk. The asterisk here is that not many of those cars would be running a full season. Sorry. In WRC2, there's not many drivers that can run a full season in the WRC. They can run a full season in WRC2, which is half the rallies, 7 rallies. But we don't see any. We don't see many, if any, drivers doing all of the 14 rallies. Oliver Solberg is due to do that this season, and he'd be like the exemption in the rule, really. And apart from that, there's not many that have the funds to run a full season in the WRC, even if it became a main class. If the Rally2s became the main class, I mean. And Hyundai leaving in because in my opinion, if at the end of 2025 the FIA announces, okay, we know Hyundai is leaving, we're going to scrap Rally 1 and make it Rally 2 as the main class, there's no chance in hell Hyundai will be like, okay, hear me out, lads, we're gonna bring the Rally 2s and we're gonna run a full-time team from I don't know where. That's not gonna happen. What's most likely going to happen is you're going to have Hyundai i20 Rally 2s being run by either Newell's team, 2C Competition, or some other team of not really good quality. If we look at last year's Suninen and Lindholm Hyundai i20 Rally 2 programs. So that's one manufacturer down. And if we look at M-Sport, who is already debatably half a manufacturer, they'd have to run the Ford Fiesta Rally 2, which has been it would be 7 years old in 2026. And it's arguably not had any good results apart from Fourmore's win in Central Europe the year before last year, so in 2023, like whatsoever. It's not really been run by anyone in local championships apart from Spain, where, oh my god, I don't remember his name. 17-year-old is running and he's trying his best. So, effectively, you would also take M-Sport out of the question because with its current lineup and the Ford Fiesta Rally 2, it would mean even more trouble for them. And they obviously don't have enough time to develop a new car. Firstly, because the Fiesta is going out of production. So that's number one. And number two is the Puma is large and it can be made into a Rally 2. That's why M-Sport have advocated for 2027 rules to allow space frame chassis to be used for Rally 2s. I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm already making enough enemies by saying that I don't like Rally 2s as the main class. I don't need any hashtag say no to space frame chassis people coming after me as well, because they don't really understand what a space frame chassis is and its benefits. Anyway, sorry about that. And again, as I want to continue about M-Sport, the good thing M-Sport has at the moment in its Rally 1 status, Rally 1 status, let's say, is that they can offer something others can't offer. For example, they can offer a Rally 1 Puma to privateers. In 2026, they will be offering a 7-year-old Rally 2 again to privateers. Those privateers have the option of running anything that's not manufacturer affiliated that would probably be faster than the Fiesta and the M Sport and M Sport, whatever M Sport might run. The only reason why I would see someone why I would see someone running a Fiesta, either brand loyalty, for example, oh, I love you M Sport, you helped me in tough times and you stand by me all those difficult years. Someone like, I don't know, Armstrong, but again, there's better options than Armstrong, or Martin Sesks, which again, he might be able to get something better, and that again, that's an asterisk I need to mention. Would you rather have 8 rallies in a privateer Yaris Rally2, or would you prefer 14 rallies in a M Sport Fiesta Rally2? Yaris versus M Sport. I don't remember what I said. I apologize. Would you prefer less rallies in a faster car or a full season in a slower car? And the other reason why I could see someone running something with M Sport, the only other reason I should say, is that maybe if you run a full season with us, you automatically get one of the new cars for 2027. So you are essentially getting in line for a car. Like you have a guaranteed X amount of rallies in the new car. Could make sense, yes. But again, we don't really know. So it would just leave Toyota with the resources to run a full manufacturer support, or even outsourcing them at this point. It's another thing. If it's just for 1 year, there's a possibility that all manufacturers go, what the hell, it's 1 year, I'm not going to spend any resources, I'm just going to focus on all of my resources on the 2027 car, which is again a possibility. And we could have random, everything is just random, completely random. But I would like to imagine that Toyota is the most likely one to still run a full manufacturer campaign in 2026, regardless of the cars. So it would mean running 4 or 5 Yarises, or Yari, I don't know, and it would just be them. Very reminiscent to Lancia in the early Group A days. Even then, they had more competition. They would be the only factory team. And I'm saying that because people right now might be screaming, what about Skoda? What about Citroen? What about Volkswagen? What about Proton? What about Proton? The Proton Iris R5. Yeah. Firstly, Skoda did actually announce... they did announce... an upgrade to the Fabia RS Rally2 with a new exhaust system, lighter system, etc. Not lighter system, lighter car. But Skoda has said many times in the past, they are not interested in running a WSC program with the Rally2s. They are only doing that, they only care for Rally2 because they can sell their cars to privateers and make profit. And TalkSport themselves are not a manufacturer team. And this year, they've scaled down their involvement in the WRC. They are not running their 4 and 5 cars we've seen in the past. They're only running 3, I think. Yeah, I think Virves, Zaldivar, and Lindholm in 5 events. Am I missing? Oh, Gryzen. Yeah, Gryzen as well. Lindholm in selected events. And as for Citroen, same applies. They don't really want to run, not as a manufacturer at least. And PH Sport, again, is a privateer team, so they would need funding. Funding comes from drivers. And I don't think Johan Rossell can find enough money to do 14 rallies in Rally 2. Or Leo Rossell, or Bjorn Bonato, or Mads Ösberg, or any privateer driver you can think of. They're already struggling to make 7 or 8, especially the ones that are not like factory drivers, quote unquote. So I've made a list here with 30 or so drivers. We're going to skip over a lot of them because, frankly, they're not important. With what the potential 2026 season could look like. So I'll start with Hyundai, which is Thierry Neuville. He would run I-20 Rally2s with live. Full season again is a question mark. I don't know. Because I'm not so sure any of the current top drivers like Thierry Neuville, Sébastien Ogier, Kalle Rovanperä, Oit Tanak, they would care for a WSC with Rally 2s. That's why I've put Tanak as retiring. I don't see him running anything in 2026 if it's Rally 2, apart from, I don't know, Estonia, if Estonia is on the calendar, because we don't know that either. And a big question mark is Fourmaux. What does Fourmaux do? Because he has an opportunity to run something better than the I-20 Rally 2, which has seen an update on tarmac that hasn't done much, if I'm honest. Camille did win, I think, Turquet in France, but the car is horrible on gravel, has seen zero updates on gravel. It has a tendency to lose its power steering, and it's a mess, as we saw last year with Suninen and Lindholm. I would not buy that car. For under no circumstances would I buy that car. So Fourmaux would either need to go back to M Sport, which again would mean he would have to drive a Ford Fiesta Rally 2. Again, probably the worst car in Rally 2 at the moment. So not ideal, which means going the privateer route. Does he have money to run a privateer car for all rallies? Probably not. So that's another thing. And I don't see him going to Toyota, because Toyota have Evans, Evans has been on a flyer. I would have said before Monte Carlo, okay, maybe he could replace Evans, but with the form Evans is currently in, can't really replace him, can you? And then we go to Toyota. As I said, Evans would probably do a full season. Rovanperä, I really don't see doing a full season if the Rally 2 stay. Like, for no reason. I think, again, he'll be like, okay, I'm going to do 5 rallies. Then I'm going to go back to drifting or Porsche Carrera Cup or GT3s or whatever. And then I'm going to come back in 2027. Same for Pajari, I think will do a full season. Same with Katsuta, he's contractually obligated as he's Japanese. And then for Ogier, only Monte Carlo, if that. Then M Sport, as I said, I don't know what drivers M Sport might have. I think they could have Munster maybe as, okay, please guys, I will be there for you. I'm Gregor Munster. Please give me a car in 2027. And same with Cesks. Thank you guys for giving me that opportunity. I will stay with you, or maybe I can have a car in 2027. Mackerlin, again, why would Motorsport Ireland, who's paying for his seat, not just go to TalkSport and go, right guys, full season with you, and you have a better car, let's see what he can do. I don't see why he would really want to stay at M Sport if they switch to Rally 2, considering they'd have the worst car. And then we have some privateers, like Solberg would be able to run a full season, whether that be with Toyota or that being with a privateer Toyota, like his dad did with Citroën. And Gus Greensmith, again, full season, maybe. He has the funding in theory to do it, but he would... Again, you don't really know. Again, Rossell, no. He wouldn't be able to do a full season with the C3. Gryzin would probably be able to do a full season. Lindholm, Virves, Kajetanovic, no. They would be able to line like 7 or 8, maybe even 9 rallies. But apart from that, no. Liname, he has the money to do a full season. Would you really care if Liname did the full season or not? Exactly. Sorry, Liname. Leo Rosell, Zaldivar, these are not drivers that are difference makers, and they would just be making up the numbers, if I'm honest. Maybe Romet Jorgensen could do some rallies with M Sport as a factory driver. That's a possibility, but again, he'd need to not pay for his seat. And I don't know if he has any significant backing. Then we have more drivers like Diego Dominguez, Heikkila, Kaupinen, Korhonen. Again, promising drivers in Kaupinen and maybe Korhonen, but too early, and they wouldn't really be making much of a difference. Then Stéphane Lefebvre could be Neuville's teammate in the quote-unquote factory Hyundai. But again, yeah, it's there's no Ypres in the calendar, so he wouldn't really be doing many decent events. I like Lefebvre. I just think, yeah, it's a bit too late. And then we have like some question marks, like Pierre-Louis Loubet. Last year he was horrible, for lack of a better word. This year I don't know when he will be doing any rallies. I think he is going to be starting in Portugal, perhaps. And then we have other drivers like Suninen. No program this year as far as anyone can tell. Could anyone entice him with a Rally2 seat? Again, I don't know. And I don't think he has money to do a full season. So again, it would be whatever thing. Then we have Mikkelsen, who is a Rally2 merchant, someone would say. Questionable again. There's no... He would probably go to Talksport, but again, wouldn't really change much. He would, as we saw in the WRC, compared to other top drivers, he's not really the best anymore. I would like to see him compete if the series turned to Rally2, but again, I don't know if he would be doing a full season. That would depend on his sponsors, and I don't know which car. If he went back to Hyundai with Neuville, he'd be outside the top 10. So that's about what we have with the field. We would only really have one full-time manufacturer, and the rest would be chaos, and most of them would just be making up the numbers. And we would have drivers that would get up in the championship order only because of their backing, because they can compete in more rallies, just like we had in the late 80s and early 90s. I know some people, for some reason, want to return to Group A because they don't know what year we have. But obviously, this is not the step forward. We need to have drivers compete in every rally, in every stage together, and not just picking what they can and how many rallies they can, etc. It's a return to the dark ages, really. So, in conclusion, based on that sheet I have, the one positive thing I can say about it, actually, is that rallies would be really interesting because you could have, like, I don't know, say, 2 Toyotas retire, you could have an outside shot at the podium if there are not enough privateers, and you could have a local guy on the podium. That'd be cool. But again, the championship would not be interesting. You'd know who would win the manufacturers, if you could even call that, and who would be winning the drivers, who would be one of the full-time Toyotas. And now that we have the entry list, we've finished with the entry list, we can look at, and that we will have less full season entries, which is, why you'd want to downscale to something if you're guaranteed more entries full time. We would have slower and less spectacular cars, which would be a negative as a spectator and as a TV viewer. People already complained when massive thunder outside, excuse me. People already complained when the very popular WRC cars were replaced by the Rally ones. Sometimes because, there's EVs and I don't like electricity. But whatever, that's a story for another time. I've seen Rally 2s, obviously, and they're not comparable to Rally 1s. Especially on rallies like Finland, Estonia, fast gravel rallies, etc. It would be really, really, really noticeable. I can't say for tarmac rallies because I've not been to one. To compare a Rally 1 with a Rally 2, I should say. It would make for a duller product. And not sure how many people would pay 120 euros for their subscription on WRC Plus or Rally TV if it was just ERC with Safari and 2 or 3 rallies outside of Europe. It would just be ERC Plus. And as much as there's some people that say ERC is better than WRC, to those I say, please stop being a smug contrarian for the sake of it. Just go to the mirror and ask yourself, why am I an idiot? And then come back and listen to the rest of the pod. And as I touched on cheaper cars, I said there's a caveat with that, and there truly is one. Rally 2s, again, if they're used, basically, we would see a rise in Rally 2 prices because Rally 2s would be the main class, so they would be more desirable. That's the first one. And since there would be more people that would be willing to compete, some unsuccessfully, there would be a rise in car parts, in maintenance fees. Teams would be running out of parts. They wouldn't be able to supply. The supply chain would get oversaturated, basically. And there would be a rise in price rise in car parts or other spare components, which would then again make the program more expensive, which would mean lower entries come to the second half of the season. Rally 2 is again being made the main class. As I said, it's not popular with the Rally 2 manufacturers. When David Richards said we're gonna have Rally 2 to Rally 1 kit for 50k, Rally 2 team said we weren't asked. We're not in favor of this. We're not gonna run teams, like we're not gonna go, hello, we're Skoda, we're gonna run two cars full time. We're not gonna do that. And because their model is, I'm gonna sell you a car, you're gonna buy parts from me, and I'm gonna make profit from that, and anything else, like whatever. And if my car is good and you see Skoda Fabia RS Rally 2 win, you're gonna go, oh, I'm gonna buy that. Or if I make a new car, you're gonna buy that new car. That's their model. It's not their desire to run a factory team. They're not going to do that. And that's the last thing I can say is there's no new Rally 2s being made. Again, it's the end of the regulation cycle. Then there's no new Rally 2s being made. So where is that? Because as always, we should never, ever look at the short term and go, that's the correct thing, we should do it. We should always look forward in the future and weigh, is what I'm doing right now potentially hurting me long term? Because that's what it is if you ask me. No new Rally 2s are being made. The regulation cycle would almost be 13 years old by that time. So, yeah. Jesus, I just realized I'm getting older. But, yeah. And the only teams I could see joining or making a new car, not teams, new manufacturers that could make a new Rally 2 car would be Lancia. But Lancia would be replacing Citroen. So you gain one and you lose one. Net zero. It makes no difference. If anyone says Subaru, I would like to tell you Americans don't know what a homologation is. So that's, yeah, they don't know how to homologate. Rally2s. They'd just be, oh, it's a Subaru and it's got 50,000 horsepower and it's gonna win the Acre 100 Wood Piston Cup Rally of 2000 Woods. We don't talk about ARA on this podcast, and for obvious reasons. There's no need to mention anything that's happening in America. Or if anyone says, oh, we should have cheaper cars like the ones they make in ARA, tell them to not listen to this podcast anymore. Please, no, don't do that. And in conclusion, because if I continue this, I'm just gonna end up talking about things that are not on topic, and it's going to be really annoying. Rally2's being the main class might seem like attractive possibility for the near future, but we mustn't be short-sighted, because as I said in the intro, if you think, and take this like in your everyday life as well, if there's a solution that I think is very simple, there's a good reason why it's not been implemented yet. Because if it's that simple, many more than you have thought of it, and they haven't implemented it. So it means that you're either the smartest guy in the world who thinks something like that's very complicated at once, and you just have the best solution available right now, or you haven't really thought it through, and there's drawbacks to your solution. What I would suggest, even if Hyundai does leave the WRC in 2025, I think there will be a solution so that the i20s are run as a private team in 2026. And then we hope and pray that the 2027 regulations are actually in 2027 and not postponed to 2028. And that by 2030, there's at least 2 new manufacturers, and maybe at least one that is not just ICE, because I would really, really, really like to see something like a Renault 5 EV. I love that car. And yeah, let me know what you think of this Rally 1 versus Rally 2 debate and where you stand on it. And yeah, see you on the next one.